All right. So, proactively preventing poor user experience. So, just a couple of things about me, just to kind of give you a basis of where this is coming from. So, my user experience works spans user research and strategy through design and interactive prototypes and usability testing. Went to VCU, bachelor's in political science, a postgraduate certificate in marketing, and then I did an interaction design certificate through UC San Diego. And in 2019, if you're interested in the UX community here in Richmond, I started the UX Census RVA survey, and that's a survey of the UX community, tells about skill sets, industries, job titles, salaries, and things like that. And my path to user experience, this is a sort of a fun fact for me to share, is it started, my path to user experience started when I was 9 years old. And I told my mother I wouldn't shop at a particular store anymore because of how they treated their customers. And so ever since that time, I was always studying customer interactions. I didn't know interactions was a word. I just knew I was trying to figure out what was going on and trying to think of ways to improve that. And I was thinking about it both from, even at 9, both from a customer perspective, but from a business perspective. So I was studying those in-person experience, but then also online experiences and trying to make them better. And so that's sort of how my path to user experience started long ago. So next up, I want to talk about what is user experience, just to sort of ground us with a little bit of a definition. So this is from Nielsen Norman Group, and user experience encompasses all aspects of a person's interaction with a company, its services, and its products. So a lot of times people think of user experience and they're really just thinking about how something looks visually, or it's or just a experience with a screen, your a website or app. But a user experience really can be in person, offline, in person, or online as well. And then, screens are everywhere now. So, it's the kiosk, it's the refrigerator that has a screen, and so many other types of things with it. But some thinking about user experience and how broad it is, well, what makes it a good user experience? So on the right, this is the user experience honeycomb from Peter Morville, and the factors that he uses to indicate a good user experience is something that's useful. So that's original content that fulfills a need. It's usable, so it's just easy to use. It function the way it's supposed to, and I'm able to use it. Desirable, so things around image and identity and brand and design elements and the emotions and appreciation that they evoke. Is it findable? So it's this content findable and easy to locate and navigate, accessible. Is accessible to people with disabilities, and it's something that Mike will be talking about more later. And is it credible? So is it trustworthy, and is it believable? And I think a lot of those factors really, overreach with marketing. So I think a lot of you will probably can identify with these pieces with it. But just to show that how broad user experience is, and all of the things aren't necessarily just about how something looks, which a lot of times people might think that it user experience stops with how something looks. So next up, 7 ways to proactively prevent poor user experiences. And so I have these listed here, and we'll go through them one by one and look at some examples. So starting off with number one, show value and relevance. And I think you marketers, you definitely can identify with this, is that you need to show value for someone to make the decision to interact or purchase from you. And so one thing you want to do is just really demonstrate that you care about your users' needs first. So this first example on the right, this is Roots Natural Kitchen. And in order for you to be able to order online from them, you either have to download their app, or you have to get a delivery through like DoorDash, and pay a fee. And so the thing about that is, if you, as a first time customer, they're asking you to commit to downloading an app to your phone first before you've even gotten, the value of tasting if their food is good or not, right? So that's asking a lot of you on the first time you meet. It's like, we're meeting first and we're already getting engaged. Let's get to know each other first with it. And you'll see a lot of examples with that, especially when you on websites and uh, the first time you get there, they're asking you to sign up for the email list or something like that. Like you just gotten on the site, like they don't even give you an opportunity to look around and establish that there is some value here for you before you have to commit. So demonstrate that you really care about the user's needs first. Another example with this in the middle is Target. And I think Target really does do a good example of online ordering. But this struck me really odd the other day is that looking at humidifiers, and I had put that in the search, and they started showing me humidifiers, but then here's this big sponsored ad for Kind bars, which has no relation to humidifiers. So, I know you have, you have to do advertising and that can, be helpful monetarily and with partnerships and things like that, but at least have it to be something that's relevant, like they have the Kind bar on the desk, I mean, in a desk drawer. Maybe if you had a humidifier there too and the person's working, it would at least feel like it has a connection, right, with it. So things like that, just, and especially when some sites you'll see and it'll be a lot of ads and like you can't even get to what you're looking for because of the ads and they don't even have any relevance. So that's something to weigh and to see if you are going to do something like that, does it have value to people. But one example that I like, and I hadn't seen this before, and I thought, oh, this is brilliant and it's so simple, is that Kohl's, I was looking for this brand of shirts, brand of clothing, and it's EVRI. And so when I put it in, it did say, we're sorry, that's not a brand that we carry anymore, but we think you'll like what we have even better. So one, it acknowledged, no, they don't have it anymore, but they also tried to offer me some other options with it. And you don't see that often. A lot of times what you see is just some other options. And it's like they totally ignored what you asked for. But they, at the same time, they're using the information that you put in there to give you something. So like if you said, I'm looking for these tops, another site might just show you some other brand of tops and it totally ignore what you asked for. So that's just about being really being informative in what uh, when the customer makes a request, a user makes a request. You may not always have what they need, but if you communicate it, then you can show some alternatives instead of just sort of ignoring them and going on. Number two up is provide consistency with design patterns, so UX design patterns. So design patterns are really just about the common ways that particular design challenges or problems are handled. So it's like if you're going to have someone purchase something, then typically the purchase button is the largest thing on the screen. It's towards the bottom after you've provided information on what the particular product is, and it has like purchase or submit or something like that that indicates this is where I can make my purchase. So using design patterns that are common helps users to get what they need faster and doesn't get them confused. And we have to think about really is that unless you are just a really really popular product that people are on it all day and all night, then most times users are using other products, and so they are used to the patterns that of these other products. And so if you're keeping more standard design pattern, uh, that's that consistency helps users with it. Now that doesn't mean that you can't be creative, but it's just don't be creative just to be creative. Be creative if it's going to help users. And so I wanted to give this example is that what I'm something I'm seeing a lot here lately is that you're finding the log out options is just in really weird places, and you have to do a whole lot of different clicks and things like that to be able to get to it. So for this one on the left, this is a T-Mobile site, and in the account, and if you look at the top menu, it has these two icons, and then it has my account, and then it has right here these three lines that they call a hamburger menu. Well, typically you don't see the hamburger menu on the right side. Typically it's on the left side. So that's one thing that's a little odd with it. But typically when you click on the hamburger menu, it opens up uh, another menu going down of your options. Well, when you clicked on this right here, this is what opened up. Well, even though that's a menu, and typically, oops, I'm sorry, it will show that that'll offer you the log out option. It didn't offer the log out option, and you're thinking typically with design patterns to log out is usually on the top right. That's just typically what has been happening. Now on mobile sometimes, and it's gotten to be more that it'll be that it's on the left. So this hamburger button would typically be on the left, and you'd open it up and the log out is there. That's not what happened here. Instead, it's these other options, and I didn't show you. It's a few more of them, but log out is not on there. What you actually had to do was go over here to the third one, and you had to click my account, and then it helped. Then it allowed you to log out. Well, that's kind of confusing because of the fact that one, you use the hamburger button on the right, which typically isn't. Second, the logout's typically under that hamburger button, and it isn't. It goes to another thing, my account, and then there's the logout. And so it's just the point of sometimes if people are used to using a lots of different accounts where the login is on the top right, just have a really, really good reason why you're moving it to somewhere else and test it with real users just to see if they're having any issues with actually finding the logout with it. It's not a deal breaker, but all of these things sort of eat away at customers and their sort of satisfaction with you. So those are things to look out for. Next up is say no to dark patterns. So tricking users and doing things they don't want is just wrong. So, like example here, and this is from Consumer Cellular, and a lot of companies do that, is that they have the default, if you see right here, for if you're going to put in your credit card information, the default is already checked to say save this card for future use. Now, there are definitely customers who want that option, but allow them to check it. Don't check it first, and then and someone might miss it, and then all of a sudden their credit card information is being saved, and they don't want it to be saved. And in this particular situation, what actually happened was they had some kind of flaw where this wasn't actually, like, you could see it checked, you unchecked it, and then there was some kind of glitch that was happening with the system, and it was actually saving your credit card information. So, you know, it, they didn't even check it, and it still was doing that. So that's just important, is that just to ask people instead of actually checking it for them. The people who want to do that, they will definitely check it. And the people who don't, they won't. Because also what actually happens a lot with these types of things is that for them to undo it, a lot of times they can't undo it on the device or the system that they checked to say they wanted to do. So like here where it's um, signing up for e-statements, once you said that you wanted to don't, chose to sign up and you didn't want to, then you had to call to be able to get to stop having e-statements with it. And a lot of times when it's with dark patterns, this is not the worst one, but you'll see it a lot, is that the choice that they want you to make is the most prominent with it. And then most prominent with it, sometimes they'll even sort of guilt you with it and say things like, um, you know, are you sure you want to, be inconvenienced by da 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 da? Are you sure you don't want to learn more and be a smart whatever type of customer or something with it? Then once you check that option, you maybe you didn't want to, you have to work really hard to get it undone with it. You have to call, and I don't know how much fun anybody else has with calling in, but it's not much fun for me. The time that's involved in it and just getting the issue straight. So, yeah, just avoid dark patterns. If the users, a lot of times it can be things like the default with the credit card, it's sign up for e-newsletter or paper billing. It can be in the shopping cart. They'll add a warranty in to a product, and you didn't check that, and then you have to uncheck it. Things like that. Just ask people, and if they want it, they want it. If they don't, they don't. So no, say no to dark patterns. Next up, don't force inaccurate choices. I see this a lot with surveys, and in this example, is with job applications. But the thing about it that I always that I can't figure out is that when you force people into choices that aren't accurate, then you're just creating inaccurate data, and then you're making decisions on it, and it frustrates customers. So this one right here, and I see this a lot, and I think it's really important now. We're thinking about how, you know, so many employers are looking for new employees and they're having a challenging time with it. And one of the things is that you'll see for like a degree of education, but they actually don't have a really broad set of educational options. So this one right here doesn't include a common education type like a certificate. And then particularly in any kind of emerging technology and things like that, your user experience or being a developer or marketer or something, certificates are, a legitimate educational achievement, and it doesn't have an option there. And so then what it does, it forces the person to choose something else. And I may choose, okay, so I have a certificate. Is that it's not high school GED or equivalent. Is it associates? Maybe so. It's a bachelor? No, not really. But my judgment on what it is and with the next person might be very different. So you're just getting more inaccurate data from it. And so if you're saying, oh, well, we're not getting anybody who has the experience we need, what that may or may not be accurate if you don't actually have enough options for them, or you don't have a space for them to actually put in the option. Which goes to this one over here, where this one has that you have to put in your school and your degree and your major. Well, it actually allows you, if your school isn't listed, to actually write in your school. And so what's really good about that is it doesn't assume that they have all the answers. They actually allow you to put in something. Now, of course, I know with surveys and things like that, then that open field, that's a lot more analysis. But then you have to think about and weigh, well, uh, what's the risk of getting inaccurate data from that. So that's a thing as well, is are we actually offering the right choices so we can get the most accurate information and we can make decisions on it. Next up is provide escape hatches. It's easy to, make a mistake, and you need to make it easy for users to correct mistakes. and get help if they need to. So this one right here, and this was kind of unusual. I have never seen this before, is that this was a login for an online platform, but it actually didn't have a forget a password option. And, I don't know if you're like me, but I have more passwords than I can remember. And so oftentimes I do forget because this may not be the most important site in the world to me. And so I do need to have an option to how do I get in here if I've forgotten my password. Uh, this middle one was really interesting. This is from Roots Natural Kitchen, which I had showed you earlier. This didn't have an option if you made a mistake in your order to undo it. So, say for instance, you accidentally clicked pesto Caesar chicken twice and you only wanted one of them. If you click it again, it would make it three. It wouldn't. You don't have option to go down with it. And so the only way that you can correct it is to go back. But if you've already filled in your order for the other things, that means you have to do them all over again. When it would just be much more simple if they had like like they have the up and down arrow, like a number stepper, so you could say click and go down to one or go down to zero instead of having to go back again. And that's just gonna be really, kind of frustrating, especially if ordered a few things and made some adjustments in them. So just thinking about that, how can they correct their mistake easily? And then another one, and this is more serious, but I wanted to make sure to put it in there, is that like for here with Robinhood, it's fascinating reading. A few months back, they settled with I let's see, is it SEC? Or, it was a government agency. I have forgotten it now. But in their the agreement for the settlement, some of the things that they had was that, they didn't have any really good safeguards for novice investors who conducted risky trades. And they were really targeting novice investors because that's like investing for everyone. But the trading that they were allowing them to do was really risky. Did they have enough information about the risk, and did they have any safeguards involved in this case something went wrong? And then also at that time they didn't even have a customer service number. Something went wrong to be able to actually call and try to resolve it or get some more understanding of it. Now a lot of these things um, are baked into these new business models that there's no customer service or customer support, um, yet like telephone customer support or by email or something like that. But when you're doing something as risky as trading and people could lose their livelihoods, it's important that you have some way that people can get help because things do go wrong, especially with technology. To our best of our intentions, and if you don't have a safeguard for them to be able to get out of it, then definitely they need that support from real people to be able to resolve something. Next up, be clear and concise. So using the right words matter. You want to make things easy to get information and to complete a transaction. So this is my favorite one that I've seen recently. This is a picture of a pump at a gas station, and you're you want to get some gas, and the options are pay inside, pay outside, yes, no, and cancel. What does yes mean here? What does no mean here? And even pay inside really doesn't do anything because you still have to go and pay inside, right? So this is just like confusing. And, uh, how did this happen? I think obviously they didn't test it with the real people because I think a real person would say, hey, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do here with it. So, yeah, words do matter. So be very clear, concise, and specific. Another example here, this is coming out of the DoorDash app, and the person was trying to order from O'Charley's, and for some reason they couldn't. They got this error message that said error adding products to basket, but and then they have all these letters and numbers. Well, that means nothing to the person. They don't know why their items can't be added to the basket, and they couldn't get a resolution because they had no option to contact them until they placed the order. Well, if I can't place my order, I can't get it resolved. So that was, you know, a challenge. And with the person, this person was just, a little bit more ambitious. They actually went to O'Charley's site to order, and what they found out was that the item they were trying to order was no longer being offered on O'Charley's. So that's probably why it wasn't on DoorDash. So, that's a thing too. A lot of times that there are partnerships, and you have to make sure that your systems are really integrated. And then when changes occur, that you're also making sure that the changes are reflected on all the other interfaces and areas that a customer might interact with it. So yeah, that wasn't a very helpful message at all. Now this right here, this message, I feel like is well done in the sense of repeating what it said, in that if this person has signed up for to get some information downloaded, um, it it first it adds a confirmation. So yes, you've done what you needed to do. It tells you you're going to receive the information without email link within 5 minutes. So it's telling you when, and it tells you to check, if your spam folder if you don't see it, because obviously they've had some experience with that happening. So also suggesting a way that can help you get this resolved. Now, addition could be something like, contact us and a link if you don't receive it, or resend a link for that if you want to do that. But that's helpful because it's informative. Uh, but the last piece of it, and there could be many different examples of it, but in this short time, I would say a really important piece of all of this is to involve users throughout the process. So there are many different user design processes. You'll see them. You can, Google them. There's double diamond and all different things like that. But the steps are pretty similar in that, it's a sort of some kind of research phase, analysis phase, design, test, and measure. It's really important that you are involving real users in the process throughout. So for that research phase, that you're interviewing real users to understand what their needs are, or if you already have an existing interface, that you're actually testing to understand what the issues are with it. It's important that you are in the design phase, that you are, getting input from users, iterating and testing with them. And then also, when you have your final product out there, you know, making sure that you're testing and identifying any issues that may, you want to test before it's launched and get all the issues out of the way. But there's also testing to be done after it's launched, just to make sure that things are working the way they should. And of course, that monitoring and measuring, looking at things to see if any kind of metrics are identifying issues. And then, yeah, you may have to go back and do some testing or in user interviews to make improvements in it. So just want to say it's really important to involve, and I say real users, so not just someone who's in the company. They may be very familiar with the product and they won't see what the issues are that a user would who doesn't have that, internal knowledge. So those are sort of 7, ways to be proactively prevent poor user experience. And so if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Great, thank you, Lisa. We have a couple minutes for questions. If anybody wants to type them in the chat, I also posted her LinkedIn URL. So hopefully you can reach out and connect with Lisa if you want to take the conversation offline as well. So good stuff. I love the examples. I'm glad that you called out dark patterns, because I think sometimes people confuse bad user experience with actual malicious intent. And that's more common these days, unfortunately. And as you were talking at the beginning about Instagram, I was thinking that was probably by design, right? They don't want you to share just photos. They want you to share reels and videos and all that other stuff that I have not figured out yet.
Definitely. Does anybody know for the gas station pump with yes or no what that might trigger? That's my favorite one here recently.
No, I have not. I haven't seen that. Okay. So we have a question. What did you mean by dark pattern? I didn't get it.
Well, so a dark pattern is that the motive is to do something that the user is really unwilling to do or don't want to do, and that you're using the interface, the design elements to trick a user um, into doing something they don't want to do. So say for instance, you want them, the example I had, you want them to sign up for e-billing. So that's the biggest, that was the biggest one, that it was a button, versus you saying, no, I don't want to do that. That's a really small link on the side. And a lot of times they can be even, more egregious than that. It's like really huge and something else is very small. And like somebody said, they always do that for cancellation. And that's really true, is that not only, like, if you want to cancel, you can sign up online all day long, but to cancel, you have to call. And a lot of times they have boutique hours, 9 to 5, where a lot of people are working, and you can't cancel unless you call in. So then you're probably stuck, maybe extra time. Some people forget about it, was something they really don't want to do.